Hello everyone and welcome back to the Grape Explorer. Today is the world of wine, covering some of the latest news stories from the world of wine. And it would be difficult this month to not talk about what's happening in the world right now. I hope all of you are safe, well and healthy. And I did want to give over a portion of today's world of wine to talk about some of the wine related stories that are related to what's happening in the world right now. There are some really good news stories out there just showing how we can all pull together in times of crisis. And so the first story that I wanted to cover off today is all about a new website that is helping New York City restaurants sell off their wine cellars. It's from an article by Inside Hook. Now, I have noted that since this article was first published, this particular app has partnered up with Coast app to ensure that this has amplified its distribution across the United States. The idea being that no sector has been particularly hit more than the hospitality industry, and restaurants across the cities in the United States have of course got huge stocks of wines which it would be beneficial for them to be able to sell them. And so what's happened here is an app has been created by a chap called Philip Thomas, a software developer who's created a number of startups, and he's partnered with a number of restaurants to make consumers aware of restaurants that are selling wine so that they can buy wine in these difficult times, but also create much needed revenue for the restaurants themselves. Even though it only launched in the last couple of weeks, it's already become incredibly popular. Like I say, it's now partnered with a national app to create wider distribution. And I think this is a really fantastic idea to help the hospitality industry out in this difficult time. Lots of restaurants, of course, are having to close their doors. Here in the UK, that's absolutely what's going on. And so for somebody to have come up with something that's going to benefit the restaurants in the short term, that can only be a good thing. With so many of us on lockdown at the moment, I'm on lockdown myself, very difficult situation, it's become important to try and stay in touch with people as best as possible. And the New York Times has run a fantastic article about how to have a successful virtual happy hour, keeping you in touch with your friends, your colleagues, your loved ones during this difficult time. So this article focuses on a particular Twitter user, Jackie Summers, a liquor brand owner, who put a call out on Twitter to ask people to join them for a virtual happy hour. As you can imagine, that really took off really well, lots of response from that. And so of course it's got this article thinking about what you need to do to create the perfect happy hour. There are of course a number of apps available on your laptop, on your phone, so that you can connect with others. The advice that they give is to try and keep it small if possible, just between a few friends. That way that you can have a bit more of an intimate conversation, really feel like you're being able to discuss things with each other rather than having too many people. If it's in a party atmosphere virtually, that wouldn't necessarily work. They're saying too many people on something like Google Hangouts and it all becomes chaos. Get yourself comfy, pour yourself a nice glass of wine, but importantly, get dressed up as if you were going out. You need to kind of get yourself in the mindset of doing things that you would have normally been doing. It's incredibly important for mental health to still have routines. So if you're meeting up with friends virtually, why not get changed for that event? That is something that I think you would do in the outside world, so why not do it from the comfort of your own home? They say to get comfy, make sure you've got plenty of food and drink in, and just be a good listener, keep this conversation light. Very difficult in these times, but as best as possible, talk about the things that you would normally talk about with your friends. So really great article from the New York Times there, something I think we could all adhere to. Staying on the theme of keeping in, Decanter magazine has run an article on some of the best box sets and wine pairings whilst you're binge watching TV, perhaps over the last few weeks and in the upcoming few weeks as well. So they've given some suggestions for TV shows and wines that you can pair with. Perhaps some of these are a little bit obvious. Things like The Crown would be best paired with English sparkling wine. The Sopranos would best be paired with a Chianti Classico. These aren't stereotypical at all. The Bridge, which is a Scandi Noir, is apparently best paired with a Rioja Gran Reserva. I'm not sure why. The Morning Show on Apple TV would be best paired with Canadian ice wine. Again, interesting that they've come up with those. And then finally, Billions has come up with Napa Valley Cab, which I think is pretty typical. I think they tend to drink that most episodes, so that seems about right. And Homeland has come up with German Riesling. Again, not sure why, but a light-hearted article gives you some food for thought when you're watching TV. What do you pair TV and wine? How do you go about doing that? It's not something I've ever really thought about, but hey, if it's something you think about, let me know in the comments section below. And finally, on the topic of everything that's going on this month, I just want to go through one more really good news story here. Now, these are both from Decanter magazine, and they are about some drinks producers who are now pledging spirits to create hand sanitizers. So Diageo, a big owner of a lot of spirit brands such as Smirnoff and Gordon's Gin, as well as the owners of Krug and Dekem, are producing hand sanitizers for use in hospitals, for sale through their own websites. And again, I think this is a really good example of the industry pulling together. That's what we need to do right now, of course. Pull together as one, and I just think it shows the very best of us what we can do in crisis times, how we can all really pull together. Okay, I'm going to move on to some other industry related stories now, and a story that I got from Drinks Retailing News, which is all about the German ice wine harvest and the fact that it has failed for the first time in its history. An unusually warm winter has cancelled the German ice wine harvest for the first time in recorded history. Temperatures need to drop below a required -7 degrees in order for the berries to be harvested and classified as German ice wine, and that hasn't happened at any time during the last winter. This was a common theme in every German producing region. Due to the mild winter, the minimum temperature was not reached in any region, and the coming days are also not expected to see any frosty nights. Climate scientists have, of course, repeatedly warned that climate change is going to have a significant impact upon the world's wine regions, and this is such an example of that. They believe that 85% of vineyards could be at risk in the future. That, of course, means that in other areas, some regions are starting to flourish, and I think here in the UK, I can talk perfectly to that. Our sparkling wine industry is in boom time at the moment. You know, it's better than it ever has been before. That's not me saying that climate change is a good thing for the UK, but I think it just shows how climate change shifts around the world and what that means for different countries. Clearly a difficult time for the ice wine industry in Germany, and I can only hope that for the coming winter they get that -7 temperature so that they can produce those wines that they need to. An interesting story coming out from Decanter magazine about sparkling wines is that the demand for Cremants of Burgundy has really increased over the last couple of years. Exports to the UK have risen by almost 67% in volume, 42% in value. Even though Cremants of Burgundy actually makes up a really small percentage of the total production in Burgundy. Now, Cremants are produced in the same way as traditional method sparkling wines like champagne, but they come with a much more cost-effective end-user price, and so they're incredibly popular for that reason. So exports were greatly increased in 2019, although of course 2020 and our current situation means that there will be concerns for the coming market. But it's interesting to note that Cremant is becoming more and more popular. Another story out of Decanter, you can tell which magazine I read more than any other. Riedel, who are a glassware maker, have introduced some wine wings glasses labelled with grape names. Their new Wine Wings range marks the first time the company has included variety names on the glasses themselves. The new collection spans 6 differently variety specific glasses and is a result of a lot of research and development, which began when the firm's 10th generation owner was asked to find the ultimate glass for Cabernet Sauvignon. The glasses are £27.50 each. So, you know, if you're hosting a party of 4, you're looking at spending upwards of £100. A lot of people have said finally. I haven't said finally. £27.50 for a glass that you then pour wine into is ridiculous. I don't even spend £27.50 on wine. So for me personally, this isn't something that I will be seeing the benefit of, but interesting that they've come up with these particular new styles. They're designed to increase the surface area of the wine that oxygen is exposed to create a greater intensity of aroma. But I'll leave it up to you if you think that's something that you think would be beneficial. How many of you, for example, have different styles of glasses for different wines? I have red glasses and white glasses, that's about as far as it goes, but I'll be interested to hear what you've got. And finally, I'm going to pick up on a story from winesearcher.com, which is all about natural wine and the fact that the Rebel wine category, natural wine, looks like it's going legit after French authorities granted the first natural designation. In a move many thought would never happen, and some think should never happen, the French government this week agreed to a legal definition of natural wine. The term natural wine, of course, cannot be used in Europe because of EU regulations, so the new category will be called Vin Méthode Naturelle. Wineries following the rules can use the logos on their bottle, and more than 100 brands are already expected to apply for the logo. Nothing is more divisive in the wine world than natural wine, and new regulations will not bridge the biggest divide, sulfites. There will be 2 certified types of Vin Méthode Naturelle, one with no sulfites added, and the other, which is upwards of 30 parts per million of sulfite, can be added. There are specific requirements to attain this classification. The grapes must be organically farmed and hand-picked. Only indigenous yeast fermentation must be used, and no treatments classified as brutal, including cross-flow filtration, flash pasteurization and reverse osmosis is allowed. So very technical. Natural wines are of course becoming more and more popular. I do see them not so much in shops, but I see them more on websites, wine tastings that I've been to. There's now occasionally a natural wine thrown in. But what are your views on natural wine? Be interested to hear about that as well. So that's the news that I've got for March of 2020. Like I say, difficult times, strange times for us all. I hope you're all safe. I hope you're keeping well. And I hope that this was informative and useful. And if you had any wine stories of your own, please let me know in the comments section below. For now, I will say thank you for watching. Stay safe and see you all again soon. Cheers.